These are the videos of 6 adopted children given a vital second chance to flourish in their youth. At face value, the actions of their new mothers, Jennifer and Sarah Hart, seemed profoundly kind. However, behind these videos, along with a never-ending stream of positive social media posts, lay 2 monsters upholding a grim and ugly facade. This story would ultimately lead to a mass tragedy. Welcome, or welcome back, to Crime Documentary Files. Jennifer Jean Hart, known to those close to her as Jen, was born on June 4, 1979, in Huron, South Dakota. In this small town of 13,000 inhabitants, she spent her early years with her parents and 2 younger siblings. Many members of the Hart family were talented artists. Both Jen, who played the trumpet, and her siblings were musicians, but the young girl's skills were not limited to this brass instrument. With a strong and extroverted personality, Jennifer broke stereotypes and expectations by participating in traditionally male sports such as baseball. She also loved hiking, nature, and animals. Her parents divorced when she was just 12 years old. Her mother kept the big blue house where the family lived, so all 3 siblings stayed with her. Jen finished high school at Huron High School, and after graduation she enrolled at Augustana College in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Although their parents did not raise them with religious values, it was a Lutheran school, a Protestant denomination of Christianity. According to future statements by her father, his daughter converted to this faith and was baptized as an adult. Jen did not stay at Augustana University for long. In 1999, when she was 20 years old, she transferred to Northern State University in Aberdeen, a city located in Washington State. It was on this new campus that she met Sarah Gengler, a girl her age who was studying the same major and with whom she fell madly in love. Sarah Margaret Gengler was born on April 8, 1979, in Big Stone City, a small town next to the lake with the same name in South Dakota. Depending on the source, her birthplace is also listed as Ortonville, Minnesota. Like Jen, Sarah was the eldest daughter in her family, although in her case, she had 3 younger siblings instead of 2. Little is known about Sarah's life, except that she was a student at Ortonville High School and continued her higher education at the University of Minnesota. She later transferred to Northern State University, where she met Jen. They both majored in elementary education, with Sarah minoring in special education. It was within the classroom that their love blossomed. In the first few years of their relationship, while still living in South Dakota, Jen and Sarah hid their relationship from friends and family for fear of being judged and losing the affection of some people. In 2004, Sarah, who had completed her studies 2 years earlier, and Jen, who had dropped out of college, moved to the city of Alexandria, Minnesota. Unfortunately, their fear became a reality when they decided to reveal their relationship to their loved ones that year, causing many to distance themselves or cut off contact altogether. A year later, in 2005, Sarah petitioned a local court to change her legal name to Sarah Margaret Hart, since at that time same-sex marriage was legal only in the state of Massachusetts. Sharing her partner's last name was a symbolic legal union. Both wanted to be mothers, so in 2006, while pursuing a permanent adoption, they were foster parents to a 15-year-old girl for less than 12 months. After that, the Harts took the teenager for a routine psychological consultation and never returned for her. It was the therapist who informed her that she would no longer live with the couple. Years later, this young woman publicly opened up about her relationship with her foster parents and revealed that she had been assured she would have a home with them until she came of age. She also denied allegations the women made about her, such as always eating out of the house garbage, among other things. In 2006, just a week after leaving the teenager, Jen and Sarah adopted 3 children, Marcus, Hannah, and Abigail, born in 1998, 2002, and 2003 respectively. All three were biological siblings from Texas. Jen was very active on the internet. She documented her life on social media, especially after quitting her job to become a full-time mom. In a post she made shortly after adopting the siblings, she wrote about her first night in this new role. She described the children's attitudes, portraying them as dirty, messy, and clumsy. She confessed that although she knew it would be the most difficult challenge of her life, she felt a responsibility to care for them and help them improve as people. Although having 3 children was already a significant burden for the couple, in 2008 they decided to reapply to adoption agencies to further expand their family of 5. In June of that same year, they adopted 3 more children, Devont, Jeremiah, and Sierra Major, who was renamed Sierra. They were also siblings, born between 2002 and 2005 in Houston, Texas. Sherry Davis, their biological mother, was substance addicted, so in August 2006, she lost custody of them and a 4th brother, Dante, whom the Harts did not take in due to behavioral problems. Devont, Jeremiah, and Sierra were under the care of their paternal aunt, Priscilla Celestin, who was ordered by the court not to allow her nephews to have any contact with Sherry. However, Priscilla broke this rule when she had to work double shifts and turned to her sister-in-law for help. Unfortunately, a social worker discreetly evaluating the situation reported this violation. Shortly after that, the 3 children were placed in an orphanage, and Priscilla was prohibited from applying for permanent custody. At that point, Devont, Jeremiah, and Sierra, all under the age of 6, ended up being adopted by Jen and Sarah, who had not yet been able to formalize their relationship. It was not until 2009 when the 2 women undertook a journey of more than 2,000 kilometers by car to Connecticut, the 3rd state in the country to legalize same-sex marriage, that they were finally able to get married. As mentioned, after the first adoption, Jen devoted herself 100% to all her children. She taught them to play instruments, encouraged their interest in sports and animals, and introduced them to 80s pop culture, showing them her favorite movies from that era. In 2015, she made costumes with the children of characters from The Goonies, a cult film of that decade. In the following years, she continued to make posts on her social networks about life at home, now including her 6 children. Whenever any of them got good grades, performed acts of kindness, or were recognized by their teachers and classmates, she made sure to post the news online, sometimes accompanying the messages with photos. Since she had no formal job and flexible hours, Jen and the children began to travel more frequently. Their destinations were usually national parks and music festivals held in other states, sometimes even across the country. In pictures and videos, the kids always seemed to enjoy these activities. They all looked happy and extroverted, committed to social causes just like their mothers, who always took them to peaceful protests. On one occasion, the family attended a campaign event for presidential candidate Bernie Sanders. According to the couple's friends, the Harts were quite reserved. They visited the house a few times and did not interact much with the children. A friend of Jen's said that during her limited interactions with the boys, she noticed that Devont stood out the most, followed by Jeremiah. Among the others, Abigail was more outgoing. Sierra laughed a lot, while Marquise was the shyest. Jen's friend said that, of the 6, Hannah was the only one she never heard speak. One thing that people who knew the Harts noticed was that all the siblings looked much smaller than they were. For example, in Hannah's case, she appeared to be an 8-year-old girl when she was actually 14. The behavior and appearance of the kids seemed strange to those who knew them, but Jen and Sarah had an explanation. Whenever anyone asked, they replied that the genetics of their adopted children did not favor them due to conditions inherited from their biological parents. However, they would not go deeper into the matter, supposedly out of respect for these people. From the outside, the Hart family appeared to be the ideal family. Loving mothers, happy children, and strong bonds. However, some moments offered a glimpse of the reality inside the home, which was very different from what everyone saw from the outside. According to government reports, Jen and Sarah didn't have a relationship with their immediate families since they decided to adopt. The reason for the estrangement was that their relatives disagreed with the way they were raising their children, and the couple felt criticized. The reasons for their relatives' questioning were unexpected. There are police reports dating back to September 2008, the year they became a family of 6, in which a call is recorded about one of the Hart sons, who, although we don't know which one it was only 6 years old. According to the report, the child had a bruise on his left arm, and after being asked how he had gotten it, he replied that Jen had hit him with a belt. Thanks to this report, the authorities opened an investigation and interviewed the mothers, who stated that their son had fallen down the stairs of the house a few days earlier. They were also questioned about the boy's physical appearance, to which they responded that he had some eating problems that caused him to pick food out of the garbage or take it from the floor. They explained that he had even stolen food from classmates at his school. Regarding this incident, no legal action was taken against the Harts. Later in 2010, during the short time the family lived in Oregon, a teacher at Woodland School contacted authorities after Abigail came to her for help. According to the teacher, the child not only expressed fear of her mother's, but also showed signs of bruising around her torso. Additionally, the 7-year-old confessed that Jen and Sarah had forcibly submerged her head in ice water. This episode uncovered other truths about the family, and in just 2 months, there were already a total of 6 reports of child abuse registered with the government's Child Protection Service. Police reports on this case stated that all Hart children had confessed to being beaten and denied food at home. In April 2011, Sarah admitted to abusing her children, for which a local court ordered her to perform 1 year of community service as punishment. The allegations of this type of behavior didn't stop there. In 2012, a nurse at Hannah's school reported that the young girl had told her she hadn't eaten anything all day. When the Harts were confronted about this, Sarah simply said that her daughter was just trying to get attention. In the fall of that same year, Sarah moved to Portland for work, while Jen stayed in West Lynn with the children. This arrangement lasted for 6 months until April 2013, when the family reunited, this time in the city of Portland, also in the state of Oregon. Following the Woodland teacher's complaint and during the last move, the couple withdrew all their children from the public school system to homeschool them. Although it is not illegal to do this, there are certain procedures and requirements that the U.S. government requires parents to follow, such as registering the change with the appropriate school district. In addition, homeschooled children are required to take standardized tests. This failure to comply with the law was reported to the authorities by an unknown person, so an investigation was reopened on the family. Detectives assigned to the case were tasked with interviewing each of the family members, friends, and acquaintances. These interviews helped uncover what was going on inside the Hart home. Testimonies from close friends agreed that Jen and Sarah seemed to be very firm when it came to disciplining their children. The list of prohibitions was extensive, ranging from manners at dinner to asking permission to speak. That same year, Oregon police received even more reports alleging that the children were severely malnourished. This allegation was analyzed by a doctor who assured them that although they did have some growth problems and were underweight, their lives were not in danger. During the interviews conducted with Jen and Sarah, The women repeatedly stated that all the legal problems they had had during the previous years were caused by social prejudice towards them and their children, since they were not a conventional family. Additionally, the 6 children did not confirm whether new episodes of domestic violence had occurred. For these reasons, the investigation was terminated after the authorities failed to reach any conclusions. In 2014, the family went viral on the internet. Sarah and Jen had taken their children to an anti-racism protest in Portland, which was packed with law enforcement officials to contain the situation. The protest had been called after the court decided not to convict a white police officer who had taken the life of an unarmed African-American man. For weeks, a picture of Devont hugging a white police officer circulated internationally with the caption, "The hug shared around the world." Although the picture was seen as an act of peace and progress in relation to racial violence, Alex Ridingler, a journalist who witnessed the moment live, sowed doubts among the audience about the nature of the hug. According to Alex, moments before Devont approached the police officer, he saw Sarah and Jen convincing the child to do so, giving the impression that the child's tears were from fear rather than emotion. This event completely changed the Harts' lives, as they began to receive an overwhelming amount of recognition. However, the public's responses were not all positive. The family received threats in the mail and strange phone calls from unknown numbers. Jen even confessed to a close friend that someone was after them and lurking around their house. For this reason, they decided to move from West Lynn to Woodland, Washington in August 2017. In this new town, they got a big house where they had a farm, planting different kinds of vegetables and raising goats and chickens. This last relocation marked the beginning of the end for the Hart family. Shortly after settling into their new home, something disturbing happened. At 1:30 a.m., Hannah, then 16 years old, jumped out of her bedroom window on the second floor of the house and ran to her neighbors Bruce and Dana DeKalb's home. According to the couple's statements, the teenager was desperate as she begged them not to let her return home, claiming her mothers were not only racist, but also mistreated her and her 5 siblings. Within minutes, Jen and Sarah went to pick her up. Jen assured Bruce and Dana that Hannah's behavior was due to her biological mother being bipolar and using drugs during her pregnancy. Jen also had her daughter apologize to the couple, and the young girl left them a small note on the door the next day. Hannah wasn't the only one of the 6 teens to turn to the DeKalbs for help. In March 2018, several months after the first incident, Devont asked Dana for food and made her promise not to tell their mothers. At first, the boy was not looking for much food, but as time went on, he would visit his neighbor with more specific requests, mostly for non-perishable food. Dana, who in the last weeks had gotten close to Devont, had the idea that the siblings were preparing to run away. In later statements, the woman assured that every time the boy came to her house, she sat down to talk to him, to gather as much information as possible and make a well-founded complaint to the Washington State Department of Social and Health Services, DSHS. After Devont's 10th visit, the boy told Dana to leave the food in a box on the fence, separating the 2 houses, although he never explained why. Again, the DeKalbs had the feeling that the Hart family's situation had worsened. It was because of this that they finally decided to make the report to DSHS, which sent Child Protective Services officers to the Harts' home on March 23, 2018. After repeatedly ringing the doorbell, the authorities left the site, leaving a communication card on the car windshield parked in front of the house. What was even stranger to Dinah was that minutes before the officers arrived, she saw the other family car pull into the parking lot of the home. On Monday, March 26, 2018, Sarah's co-worker asked the emergency number to perform a welfare check at her home, as the woman hadn't shown up for work and they hadn't been able to get in touch with her. That same day, a family friend named Cheryl, who shares the last name Hart with the couple, called 911 to report that she hadn't heard from Sarah in 2 days. 2 officers went to the Hart home. Again, no one answered the door, but the officers noticed that one of the vehicles was missing from the parking lot. A few hours later, a policeman visited the house again with the same result. There was no response. Meanwhile, the emergency hotline received a call from a German tourist who reported that a van had overturned on a cliff in Fort Bragg, California. The vehicle at the end of the cliff, a GMC XL Yukon, belonged to Jennifer and Sarah Hart. When California authorities arrived on the scene, they found the lifeless bodies of Marcus, Abigail, and Jeremiah in the water near the vehicle. Once the vehicle was removed, they discovered the 2 women still sitting in their seats. On the other hand, there was no sign of the 3 missing children, Devont, Hannah, and Sierra. The autopsy results of the 5 bodies revealed that Sarah and her children had diphenhydramine in their blood, a drug with sedative qualities. Thanks to the toxicological examination, it was found that Jen's alcohol levels were much higher than those legally allowed for driving. From then on, the investigation moved forward quickly. 4 days after the accident, police obtained a search warrant to search the family's Washington home. Police reports showed that the Hart house was perfectly tidy. This might seem normal, but considering 6 teenagers were living there, it was strange to think that the rooms were so neat. Joe Swinson, one of the detectives assigned to the case, described that he didn't see any toys or any type of entertainment device, only board games in the living room. Additionally, the investigator explained that it was almost impossible to determine which room belonged to which child. Unlike Jen and Sarah's bedroom, their children's bedrooms lacked personalization. One detail that disturbed Joe was the presence of empty picture frames hanging on the walls, as if they had been purchased and forgotten to be filled. The evidence collected during this search included a laptop and a tablet. The technology specialists who analyzed the devices found in the web browser history 2 searches made from Sarah's account that completely changed the course of the investigation. The first was about animal shelters that do not euthanize rescued dogs. The second, which was the most shocking, was related to diphenhydramine. Sarah also searched about death by drowning. From that moment on, the authorities ruled out the possibility that the crash had been a simple accident, so a jury of 14 forensic doctors unanimously established that it was murder and voluntary death. A team of accident reconstruction specialists analyzed the information stored in the van's operating system. Thanks to this data, it was possible to determine that the vehicle stopped just before changing its direction towards the cliff, where it fell, accelerating during that last stretch. This revelation confirmed that Jen, who was behind the wheel at the time of the crash, drove her entire family to a fatal end. Additionally, experts were able to reconstruct the route the family traveled during their sudden trip, which extended through Idaho, New Orleans, and finally California. Although investigators had succeeded in clearing up an important part of the case, the mystery of Devont, Hannah, and Sierra's whereabouts remained unsolved. While the absence of the bodies might indicate that the teens were not inside the vehicle at the time of the crash, authorities said they had sufficient reason to believe that was not the case. A large search operation was conducted, mobilizing a team of 80 people in the area near the scene. It wasn't until Sunday, April 8th, that Sierra's remains were finally discovered on a beach north of the cliff. 4 days passed with no sign of Devont and Hannah, so the police authorized a search of the family home grounds with dogs specialized in detecting human remains. Unfortunately, they were unable to find anything. Sometime later, a human foot washed up on the shore where Jen crashed the van. DNA tests revealed that the foot belonged to a female, making it very likely that it belonged to Hannah. However, The comparison between the genetic sample and that of their biological siblings was inconclusive. To this day, the California State Police continue to search for Hannah's relatives in the hope that one day they will be able to determine if the remains found belong to her. Devon's body was never located. The mystery surrounding this case still captures the attention of many. Some theorize that Devon and Hannah were not in the accident, but that their mothers ended their lives beforehand. Others claim that the two siblings ran away on their own. The unanswered questions are many. The most important may be why Jennifer and Sarah Hart decided to end the lives of their entire family. Although we will never know what happened during the investigation period, the police interviewed Sarah's co-worker who provided testimony. According to this person, whose identity was kept anonymous, Sarah once confessed to them that she wished someone had told her that not having a big family was okay, because then they wouldn't have adopted the 6 children. Although the fate of the 2 minors is unknown, the Mendocino County Sheriff's Department officially closed the case and released the declassified files in 2019. This terrible story and the dramatic end that the 6 teenagers suffered after years of abuse highlighted the failures of the child protection system in the United States and the flaws of a society where prejudice, racism, and bigotry still prevail. They also reveal the indifference of those who, even upon seeing the signs, didn't act forcefully to rescue the children and prevent this tragedy, about which there are still more doubts than certainties. Thank you for joining me in uncovering the tragic and haunting story of the Hart family. As we delve into the complexities of such harrowing cases, it reminds us of the importance of vigilance and compassion in our communities. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we will continue to explore the darkest corners of human nature and bring light to the stories that need to be told. Until then, stay safe, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. See you next time on Crime Documentary Files. Goodbye.